Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's DealerOn webinar, where an expert from Google is going to share new data on today's automotive path to the purchase. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. Today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. For anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our amazing SEO, the best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the award-winning Chameleon responsive website platform. We just got back from NADA, where we were awarded the Driving Sales Dealer Satisfaction Award for the top-rated websites for an unprecedented 6th year in a row. We also took home the AWA Award for Best Websites, plus FCA announced that we're now an approved vendor. Yeah, it's been a heck of a month. We're still the only company in the industry that offers a money-back lead guarantee program. You want to know more? Yeah, you do. You can check us out at DealerOn.com. Also, DealerOn is going to be exhibiting and presenting at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention, April 11th through the 13th in Tampa, Florida. So if you're going to be there, please stop by booth 411 and say hi. I'm going to be there. Also, you can check out the incredible speaking sessions by Greg Gifford and Sean Raines. Remember, it's booth 411. We hope to see you there. We have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Andrew Diffenderfer as our presenter today. Andrew Diffenderfer is a Google Automotive retail strategist based in the Northeast. Driven by a lifelong passion for automobiles, he helps dealerships and manufacturers engage with the end users while advising on Google's wide array of marketing solutions to achieve the best ROI. Andrew has spent his entire career in the automotive vertical, working at manufacturers, dealerships, and full-service advertising agencies. He's a graduate of Mount St. Mary's University with a degree in business management and a master's of business administration, and he can be reached on Twitter at @TheRealDiff. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we're going to try to respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will be emailed to you later today for your reference. Please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends over at Google, they're giving away some amazing prizes today on the webinar. 2 of you lucky webinar attendees are going to win a Google Chromecast for watching all your favorite online videos on your TV screen. This is an awesome prize. You have to be on the live broadcast to win it, though, so stay tuned, and who knows, you could be one of the people winning this awesome prize today. Also, at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to get a short survey. So fill it out. We're always looking for quality feedback from our audience, and we want to know what you think of today's presentation. And hey, do you tweet much? We hope you do. We'd love to see what you have to say about today's presentation, so please tag us in it. You can use hashtag DealerOnWebby. I'm at Eliana Raggio. You can also hit up Andrew Diffenderfer at @TheRealDiff. We look forward to seeing what you're saying. So let's get started. Let's listen as an expert from Google shares new data on today's automotive path to the purchase. Andrew Diffenderfer. I love your Twitter handle, by the way. I keep laughing every time I say it, The Real Diff. I love it. So glad to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for being here today. And by the way, before you even say one word to me, Andrew, I'm going to tell the audience, you are in for a treat. This information that Andrew is sharing today, first time on just anywhere. And it is a lot of information. So you are lucky that you are here today, and you are going to be impressed and amazed by this amazing information that Google's going to be sharing today. Andrew, hi, how are you?
I'm good. I see this every time, but like the energy that I have to like build up to keep up with you after that introduction is like, I'm like, I hope this is good. So
No,
thank you so much. It's really a pleasure.
Are you kidding me? I am so thrilled you are here. And audience, yes, I did get a sneak peek at what he's going to be showing you today and sharing with you. It is awesome. I'm not even going to talk anymore. Andrew, take it away. Where do we go from here?
All right. Great, great, great. Well, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day. I know a lot of you probably are at dealerships, and this is a popular time of the day for lunch, and I understand how important that is. So hopefully today at lunch you can learn something why we're all together. I would ask that if there's something that comes up as we go through this, this is a kind of first look at our first cut of this data. Many of you probably, if you've seen anyone from our team or any speakers from Google in the past, you've probably heard us refer a lot to our automotive path to purchase study. So this is the newest data from that. and the top trends from 2016. So we're really excited to share that with you today. And just to really get closer to this retail piece and make sure that we're sharing information that's executable for you and hopefully can drive more sales for you in 2017. So we will get started. So I like to kind of set the stage because we are going to look at a lot of data. One thing that I would ask, if there's data on the screen, you have a question about it, don't wait till the end. Shoot Eliana a question. Let's address it there. Eliana, if you think it's important that we do, there's probably other people that want to know an answer to that question, and discussion drives a lot more than listening to me talk. So, but to set the stage, I want to talk about how far we've come, and I'd love this slide, and feel free, to take it and use it. But 1998, don't get in strangers' cars, don't meet people from the internet. 2017, literally summon strangers from the internet and get in their car. I mean, if things haven't changed in the past 20 years, I mean, my gosh, we used to hop in a chat room and say, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And, I was thrilled when my dad got a 56K modem in our house. And now, if we don't have an LTE connection on our phone, my goodness, that might slow down our ability to download our favorite music or watch our latest YouTube video. So, with that, the customers, a lot of people think, well, people have changed. And people haven't necessarily changed. The way that people do things has changed. And that's I want you to think about that context today as we're going through our time here together, because the way people do things has changed immensely, but what they want to do has not changed. Another great example of this is that, a lot of people, I'm sure, you have your groceries delivered to your house, and everyone thinks, man, this is great. I don't have to go to the grocery store and wait in line, and my kid hits me up for a toy and a candy bar and everything else on the way out. But I always like to say, hey, that's really cool and that's interesting, but, in 1950, you used to have a guy come deliver your milk, too. And things aren't changing, and I think our industry is at a really, really critical point to capitalize on some of this change. So I hope you get some useful information with this. So let's just start high level and begin a discussion around what we're seeing. So from our latest study, you can see here that a lot of people go, hey Google, what do you guys care? You guys are out there, you get the money anyway, and we have to advertise with you. And we don't like to think about it that way, because what we ultimately care about is our CSI. So I know a lot of people on the call have CSI at the dealerships, and it's important, but our goal is to make sure that the customers get the information that they want, that use our search platform as fast as possible with the least amount of steps. And as a result of that, when people are online looking for a car, about 50% of those interactions touch Google. And you're going to see here that when I speak about the 50%, that's across our search platform, our mobile platform, and our video platform, which is YouTube. And YouTube is the second largest search engine behind Google. So when we discuss these things, the reason that it's so important to understand and begin to quantify for your dealership is really, we're at a magic moment in time, because you have the ability to be more effective, more relevant, at a lower cost per sale than we probably ever have in the history of automotive, if you take the time to understand what your customers want, what they're doing, and how you can make better use of their time. So that's kind of the stage that we want to work with. In our study, we also, we take your guys' feedback. So if there's something that you think that, hey man, it'd be really useful if Google could tell me about this for what's going on in our industry, we like to have that feedback. So one of the things that we're sharing this year is the motivations that began to shopping. So among new auto buyers, guess what the #1 thing that these buyers looked for was? They were ready for something new. They wanted something new. And you go, well, that's interesting. That's pretty cool, but most people, don't they go through all these different reasons that they want to buy a car? And it's like, no, they wanted something new. Why? Because people can get new things all the time. I mean, how many times have you upgraded your cell phone in the past 5 years? And I'm sure a bunch of you probably say every year the new iPhone or the new Samsung phone comes out, I update it, I get it, I put, go to that device because that's what I want. The nice thing about this is that there's a great value proposition that probably won't be there forever and hasn't been there in the past, is that I think it's safe to say that when you upgrade to anything today as it relates to an automobile, you're getting a safer, more reliable, more fuel efficient, and more technologically advanced car. So people are ready for something new because they want to have connectivity and the ability to have the newest, latest, and greatest, because the cost of that is not much more than what they're currently paying. So then you can see some of the other interesting pieces. Lease was expiring, replace a vehicle in an accident. One thing to note there is when people are replacing vehicles, obviously the purchase window is much shorter. Goes from about 90 days down to about 6 weeks because they got money burning a hole in their pocket or they need a set of wheels. So just some cool stats there. To note, I'm not going to highlight all this. We are going to give this presentation to you in the form of a PDF. That has all the nitty-gritty details, but also you'll have 3 high-level handouts, and they make great Saturday morning sales meetings discussions to talk about what customers are doing. And I like to headline those handouts with "There's no customer that ends up on a dealership's lot today by accident." Maybe the guy walking his dog in the development, if your dealership's close to development, maybe, but most people are there because they have an intent to buy something. So those are some great high-level documents that will be shared with you to kind of hopefully fuel your fire for 2017. Interesting point, this hasn't changed much from our 2015 study, is that people are considering different brands. Even if they say, you know what, I'm driving a Ford now, I'm going to drive a Ford again, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to, because 85% of people consider more than one brand, and on average it's about almost 4. You'll see a breakout on some of these slides for 18 to 34, and we put that there because that's kind of a very influential part of the buying population right now, and those people actually consider more than 4 brands. So in that age group, they're highly have the ability to be swayed. So there's just some considerations there. So again, the global number hasn't changed much, but I think when you dig down into that, this is probably some of the most powerful information that you see, right? So 7 in 10 buyers purchased were to replace a vehicle. They replaced it with something other than what they were currently driving. So we had a larger majority of shoppers switch brands than stayed brand loyal. And we aren't going to go into it in depth on this call, but the fastest way to grow retention and build your customer database is through your service lanes. And if we know that people are not staying brand loyal, the best way we can do that is ensure that when they are in our brand, we're delivering an exceptional experience and being there for them in their time of need. The average customer probably services their car 3 to 4 times a year, and frequency builds retention. And if you have the ability to make sure that you're frequently touching a customer, being there when they search for that Ford oil change and being there with a relevant offer, and I say offer, not a discount, a relevant offer that gives them what they need so that they can come with you and do business, that will build loyalty. Because people like to see different things. When we look at from a mobile perspective, when we look at search behaviors, the top search thing when people are looking to buy a vehicle from a mobile perspective is images. They want to see pictures of what they're buying, and sometimes people could candidly switch a vehicle just because they don't like the way the headlights look. So, big piece of information there. And then 26% additional bought another vehicle or did not own a vehicle, and they were first-time buyers. So there's been a lot of discussion around first-time buyers with the influx of ride-sharing and car-sharing programs, but still a decent part of the population of new vehicle purchases. So where do they start? Well, they start online or at a dealership, but twice as many start online, and the same number that completed their purchase within 3 months of shopping. So the first research action, I know this is not a surprise, is that they're online and they're looking for these vehicles, and you can see that how much they begin to use the online presence at the closer they get to the purchase. So at that big opening window at 6 months, it's 96% and 86%, and 1 month it's still 58% of the time, but there's still a lot of online media that is driving consideration for the brand. So the time spent and research time is going up. Why? Because everybody has the power of the internet in their pocket, and there's a lot of research done here. Now, we talk a little bit about leasing. So leasing was primarily driven by lower price and maintenance cost. I found this very interesting from our study this year. So reason for buying, I want to keep it as long as possible. We've all heard that person at the desk say, well, I'm going to keep this car forever. I'm going to drive it to the ground. I'm going to give it to my kid when they're 16. Yeah, okay, but the stats are against you. You're probably going to buy a new car in 3 years or 4 years. But the reasons for leasing are pretty compelling. So interestingly, the number 2 reason was it was always under warranty or low maintenance cost. So we talk about leasing as the ultimate retention tool, but also people perceive that they're going to service the car more and like the fact that it's under service. But what's interesting when people buy is you don't see maintenance costs and warranty coming into that factor because they perceptually believe that they're going to keep it longer. So the no mileage restrictions, we've heard that, but it was interesting to me to see that people when they were buying their car had no correlation to service, but leasing had a correlation there. So my argument here would be is that if somebody's buying a car, a fair question would be, is it always a concern to you that your vehicle is under warranty and you have low maintenance costs? Because whether you're buying or leasing, most people will probably, if they even finance their car, will sell it before it goes out of warranty. So, you know, something to consider as you're going through that vehicle sale. Now, many of us also have very, very large inventories of CPO and used vehicles. So 1 in 5 buyers considered a used or CPO vehicle, but we know that CPO buyers were more likely to consider new vehicles, indicating the opportunity to upsell. So, you know, I think a lot of people, the perception is that a used car or a certified pre-owned car will be cheaper, but we can't forget that certified pre-owned and used is definitely a gateway to get into a brand. So people believe that, hey, you know, I've always wanted to drive an Audi, and you know I can't afford new, but I'm going to look at that CPO Audi. And it's really interesting because those people have done a lot of research. They clearly came to your dealerships to see a car that you have in your lot or on your online inventory. And then they get there and they realize, oh my gosh, I could probably lease a brand new model for, you know, 20 bucks a month less. And so don't bypass that opportunity. You know, these people are coming to your places of business to buy something, and you have an array of products to sell them. So, you know, if somebody doesn't get closed on that CPO deal, you know, we're seeing that, you know, for every 10 ups that maybe a CPO up, there's chance to potentially put them in a new vehicle as well. So some interesting information there. So where's the role of digital? Now, my goodness, I could spend, I don't know if we do a 6-hour DealerOn Webby.
I was just going to say, this might be for your next webinar.
Maybe we could get through this. So guys, I won't go too far down and gals, I won't go too far down the rabbit hole here, but you know, the big thing is time now spent with digital equals all other media combined. So now this is daily time. So when people are looking to buy a car, you know, or they're looking to do something, they spend more time with digital marketing mediums than any other type of media, and often in conjunction with other media. So 95% of new vehicle buyers use online sources during the shopping process. Next logical question, what did they use? This is very, very important. 79% OEM sites, obviously, that they get a ton of traffic, it's high level, it's early in the research phase, but the dealership website plays an important role the whole way through the entire online shopping process. And it's critical because the search engines are driving traffic to these sites. You certainly live and die, and you know how your website performs dictates probably how your month of business is going to go. And I'm not saying other sites aren't important, but you know, we like to say, does the click match the brick? And I want you to begin to think about your website in a different way. I want you to think about your website as a way that if you were sitting in your store and your lot out in front of the dealership had cars mismatched, and the Accords were mixed with the Civics and the CRVs were mixed with the Pilots, and all of a sudden this piece of land that was supposed to sell you cars was just highly unorganized, and people couldn't find their way around. They didn't know where to park. It wasn't logical and what the next step should be to test drive a car. This is what your presence is online. So when people are looking for you online, and let's say that you have a really great car, but accidentally that guy just left work early, or the person that's supposed to upload the photos for the used cars left early, and it's a car that you know you could turn pretty quick, those pictures didn't get online, the perception is you don't have the product. Just as if you have a car that's a hot commodity, imagine having the newest car for the brand that you have that you could get over sticker. So I'll use a Ford F-150 Raptor. My buddy tried to buy one the other day, and I hear they're going for really good money. And imagine if that car was parked in the back corner of the lot and somebody came in and said they wanted to buy one and you said you don't have it. My point in this is that the customer doesn't look at it as the way that we do. Many of us have not had to buy a car in the past 5 or 6 years, and we're the people dictating what our website should look like. So it's really critical because this is such a big piece of the research process, and it impacts your business exponentially if you get it right. And one of my colleagues recently bought a vehicle, and she said that she literally drove to another dealership 15 miles away because the inventory wouldn't load on her phone. But she found a
Wow.
dealership that did have a mobile site, and that's where she actually bought the car from. She's like, because I didn't think the other dealership even had it, and I didn't want to waste time trying to figure it out.
Huh.
So, guys, I will pause in some of this stuff that seems like, oh yeah, that's important, but like, you really, really have to make sure this is great. And people demand efficiencies, and they want, there's a lot of things that we think that look good but don't perform. One of my favorites is some of the sites that I see, not just in our industry, but they have 17 different hero banners and sliders that roll through the top. It's like customers, like, they're never going to get to slide 4, and they probably really don't care the fact that you have like a guy holding a wrench there. Like that's not what they're looking for. They want to be there, they want to get what they need, and they want to leave just like we do. So take a close look at that.
Oh,
69% of,
not so fast. We have questions.
sorry.
Lots of
Oh,
people, lots of people wrote in on this graph.
yay.
All right. So for instance, Sabrina said, are the third-party inventory listing sites listed here? Jeff wrote, hey Diff, where do third-party sites like Autotrader.com mix in with that? And Joey said, where are the Autotraders and Cars.coms, etc., portrayed in this slide?
Great question. And if you see that blue bar, which is the 78%, and then you go about 2 down, that'll be third-party review sites and then professional auto sites. So you have to remember that when these questions are asked, customers don't think of Autotrader, Cars.com, Car Gurus the way that we do. They see them as an aggregate, and they see them almost as a way to go in and get that information. So I do not have a breakout that says each third party available at this time, but I will tell you that it is much lower than that of your dealership website. Because think about it, if I'm on Autotrader.com, for example, a couple things can happen there. And I don't know what brands you all sell, but let's hypothetically run through a little situation. So I'm in the market for a new Honda Accord. So I go to Autotrader.com, and on Autotrader.com, it's like taking my 3-year-old to the candy store and saying, only buy the candy bar. We're going to walk out with gummy worms and Sour Patch Kids, because there's a lot of ability to look at a lot of other different things there, which is okay. That's fine. But if you have somebody that's interested in your product and they're on a third-party site, your conversion rate hypothetically could go way down. Now, somebody could be benefiting from that. Somebody could be losing from that. The other piece that is let's just say that they do search for the Honda Accord inventory. They go in there and they look for everything, and they find the Accord they want. The next step that consumer probably going to do is click your VDP page, and then they're probably going to go to your website to verify that it's on your website, because validation equals, oh my gosh, the car is actually there, like this isn't something that's being posted, it's not there. I mean, how many times have we clicked on something and then you call and it's like, oh yeah, we're out of stock, our website hasn't updated yet. So great question. An important part of the process, I would believe, at a higher purchase point in the purchase funnel. The thing to remember here is that your customers see you as the local dealership for the brand in which you serve. If you're Ford, they see you as Ford. And I like to equate it to Target. So, there's probably a really nice person that owns the Target that's local to my community. But I don't really care about that. Like, if they're Target and I need something from Target, that's where I'm going to go buy it from. And that's the way auto shoppers are. They're going to want to be non-influenced by sales tactics early in the purchase funnel, but your website is a place that they can go and be neutral and evaluate the product. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yes. Sabrina, Jeff, Joey, thank you for calling Andrew out on that. And keep those great questions coming. We do have another question about this slide that came in from Christine. Okay. Christine says, what's the difference between a professional, third-party, and consumer-generated review sites?
So professional review sites are anything that would be specific to the automotive industry.
So like J.D. Power or something like that?
You got it. Kelley Blue Book, somebody's done the Kelley Blue Book reviews. Third-party review sites are more like the independent, like what we actually see where reviews get aggregated about cars, and then consumer-generated are, myself out there writing reviews on cars. So you can see they're all pretty close, and why? Because everyone's like, well, I want a professional. I want to see what Kelley Blue Book says about this. I want to see, like, independently what, an Edmunds or maybe even an independent third-party review site such as a Consumer Reports may say. And then consumer-generated is like, hey, what are people saying about this dealership on DealerRater or Google Reviews, or what videos are posted that somebody maybe did an independent review of the new Honda Civic? What does that look like? So great question.
Oh, they're going to be coming up with some more great questions. No, we're still on the same screen, Courtney. We're still asking you questions about this slide. Thank you so much for keeping us on track. Okay, let's keep going. And thank you, Christine, for your question. Keep those questions coming, audience. Thank you.
So, and then just another stat is 69% of the shoppers used online sources to learn about the dealership from which they purchased. So just what I was saying earlier, it's, they're researching you with your product while they're doing all this, because they want to find out as much as they possibly can. And again, think about when you purchase something or you're going to buy something of significant value. You want to know everything you possibly can from as many different areas that you possibly can. So search is still the number ad source for dealer awareness. So if somebody's looking for a dealership and how to find awareness within the dealership, search is about 2% higher than TV, online display, print, radio, social media, etc. Not to say that, this is not to say that these marketing mediums do not have a place. It's just that oftentimes we hear that, well, TV gives me a really good way to reach people, to let them know that I'm there. And I say, I agree with that, but man, if you're on TV and somebody sees ABC Ford dealership, and they're in the market for a vehicle, they're probably going to pick up their mobile device and then search for that dealership and then be able to see what you have. So a lot of these other activities that you see behind search, and it's logical why search has high awareness for dealers, is because a lot of these other marketing levers create awareness that drive people to search. And then when they actually want to find out that information. So what's my point here? Well, if you're going to partake in other marketing mediums, make sure that anytime that you fire off another marketing lever within your dealership, for example, you put a direct mailer out for your service department, and you know the zip codes that's going to go to, the days that it's going to drop, you know how many people you're mailing, and you know what offers are on it, it might be logical to put together a search campaign that mirrors the offers, the dates, and the areas that that mailer is going to drop in, so that somebody, when they get that in the mail and they go online to search for how they can actually capitalize on that offer, that you're there to capitalize on that other marketing effort. So really critical to understand the impact search has as it relates to your other marketing channels. So mobile. So 58% of people said that they use their mobile device to research or shop. Even more impressive is now it's 41% of these people said that was their primary device. And I know everyone's seeing this, so the percentage of traffic that's coming to your websites from a mobile device is probably well over 50%. And now we're seeing that become a primary device in the research. You know, it used to be it was kind of split, people would research and do cross-device shopping, but you see examples here. I mean, my goodness, if somebody types in Jeep Cherokee price and that's the information that you receive, that's giving me a lot of relevant information. I can click to get to the dealership from my current location. I can call them. I can have a price listed in the ad. It's telling me there's a savings off of MSRP. And also, if I don't know what I want, there's other links in there for extensions that get me to different parts of the website. So I really don't need to, it's giving me all the information I really need. I don't think I could get more from going to a different device. Now, last year, this is one of our favorite stats to talk about. So mobile has completely crushed desktop and Google search, meaning that when people search, 70% of all automotive queries are coming from a mobile device. This number hit its magic moment in 2015, where over 50%. Last year, towards the end of the year, it was in the high 60s. Now it's at 70%. And you can see the breakout there. And you're like, okay, Diff, why are you telling me this? Well, if you knew that 6 out of the 10 customers standing on your lot searched your inventory from a mobile device, the next question is what does your website look like from a mobile perspective? How does your search strategy align from a mobile perspective? Because 6 out of 10 customers are there. And if you're auditing your search ads and understanding what's effective, what does your conversion look like from a mobile perspective? Is it fair to say that the metrics that we measure our websites with for the past 5 to 8 years probably don't apply the same way that they do on mobile? Why? Because you're going to get less time on site. It's a smaller screen. It needs to be easy to navigate, and it needs to be very relevant information. So when you're evaluating these things, and then you layer in all the different devices, do you understand how your website performs across multiple devices? A lot of people carry different devices and what browsers they use, and the cool thing is the analytics on your website can tell you all that information, but it's taking the time to understand what it does. And I equate it to a diet. You know, you can say I'm on a diet because you eat spinach for lunch in your salad, but if your spinach salad has ranch dressing, bacon, and some steak in there, and the calories are through the roof, you're probably not on the best diet. But if you take time to understand the impact of each of those ingredients on your physical diet, that's how your website is. So if you understand how browser performance impacts your website and your conversion rate, that's important to understand, and we have all these pieces that we can now see, so using that data to powerfully understand how it impacts your opportunity to sell or service more vehicles is critical. So what do people do? They want to get dealership information, and they want to make sure that they're getting offers. So if you look at the top 10 mobile actions performed, it's very much offer driven. The great part about offers is if you're working from a paid search perspective, that if somebody's looking for Ford F-150 payments, you can get a lot of that information covered just from simply having the paid search copy correctly articulated, using expanded text ads, making sure you have click-to-call extensions in all of your ads, making sure that people can drive to you. Should they actually click on that ad, you want to make sure that it lands them on a relevant landing page. Nobody wants to type in a search query for an offer and land on your homepage, because then they have to go through everything that they just did through search, and that's not a good experience. So making sure that everything that you do from a keyword perspective matches the landing pages within your dealership. And it's not that hard. We have 4 different profit centers, right, guys? We have new car, used car, finance, and service. That's where the majority of your traffic. If you throw in parts and service, you could say that's 5. But the bigger thing here is, are you making sure that you're getting customers the information they search for as fast as possible? And then what are you doing with that information? And you can see down through the ranks, I mean, there's only about a 10%, 11% variance from the bottom to the top. But if you look at the majority of the traffic, it's about, tell me what I can get that for and how much that vehicle is going to cost. At the dealership, so we know that people are doing this showrooming all the time. So, they're out there while we're running back and forth at the desk. They're checking the price of the vehicle. They're making sure to see if the ones they said's in stock. They're checking dealership hours or address. They're looking for other discounts or offers. I mean, we know this goes on. But people are also like, this last piece, it's not the highest percentage, but they viewed or sent a photo of a vehicle. Now, I'll go back to Joe Verdi, because that was the training that I went through, and if nobody knows what that is, I apologize. For those that you do, you're probably laughing. But
I know who he is.
All right. So, Joe Verdi has said that if you walk somebody into the showroom and you ask them for a cup of coffee, something cold to drink, before you sat down and gave them an offer on the vehicle, they said, I'll take a cup of coffee, they verbally or they mentally have committed to buying the vehicle. That's a sign that they're mentally committed. And I would say, we know that 30% of people view or send a photo of a vehicle while they're at the dealership. I would say that's like the new cup of coffee or something cold to drink. If they're sending a picture to someone
going with this.
if you see somebody texting a picture of the vehicle they just test drove or they just looked at, I'd say there's a pretty good chance that you're going to close them. So, pay attention to this stuff, guys. When I was selling cars, I did not have the ability to understand what the customer was doing at the dealership, and I think, man, now we do. We just got to pay attention. The devil is in the details. So, fun stuff there. I get pumped about being able to understand that, because I think it can just so exponentially impact your closing ratios at the store. So at the dealership, 85% of shoppers, we know this, but we're setting the stage, consider more than one brand. 3 to 4 brands consider on average. We know that 54% of people switch brands, and loyalty is definitely a challenge. How do we build loyalty? Through frequency and retention through our service lanes is a great, great way that we can build loyalty in the brand. People are visiting 1 to 2 dealerships versus 5 in 2005. So if you have a Saturday morning sales meeting, just take this slide right here and say that if we do not close 50% of the people that walk on this lot today, we're all going to have a long conversation. And you can say the guy from Google said that, because I think that it's fair. I think it's fair to say that people, when they end up on your lot, are there to buy a car. And we see this. And I'm not saying that the test drive is not important. I think it's really critical to make sure that that test drives are still part of that, because we'll see here in a second that test drives actually help people expedite the sales process, which is what people want, making decisions faster. But the bigger thing is are your sales consultants making good use of somebody's time? Because if they did 15, 16, 17 hours of research to buy a car and they ended up on your lot, they're probably pretty educated, and we don't need the salesperson out there showing off their skills that they just took their new Nissan product awareness test and trying to rattle them through all these different features. Like, get them in the car, make sure that they're making good use of the time, and make sure they're delivering a great experience, because the chances are is that they're not going to go any other place.
Well, I have to let you know, we have a ton of questions that came in from Sabrina. Sabrina, I see you. Every time you put up a slide, she's asking me questions. So I'm just going to take one of these questions about the last slide that we were just on, because she's asking some great questions. All right, so she says, if this is true and consumers are only going to one or two dealerships, then why aren't we all seeing close to a 50% closing rate? Is it because that is per brand and they're going to multiple brands, or they literally just hold, they wait, and they're like, okay, I'm either going to go to this dealership or this dealership, and they buy a car?
So, Sabrina, either you have my deck or you're a mind reader, because the next slide is, because we got that question a lot, is why do shoppers visit more than one dealership and why aren't we closing more? And the reason is that what we got from our study is that there's 50% of the people that leave are comparing across the same brand. And that's where you get this variance, right? Like, it's, some of us need confirmation. Like, they said that Nissan Rogue was $199. I bet you if we go to the guy across town, we can get it for $179. So that's, I mean, that I don't know that we can fix that, but we do understand it. But there's some ways that you can obviously verify that the deal that you're giving that customer is a good deal. The second piece is people actually do shop different brands still. So, you know, with that brand loyalty number being low, like, they're down to one or two brands when they're at the dealership, but they still may want to go just kind of make sure they scratch that itch, if you will. And then there's other, you know, but there's a blend of 14% of people said both. So, you know, I would argue that, you know, and I don't want to go too far off track on this, but like, we really have to optimize our operations at the dealership towards closing ratio, understanding that people are not visiting as many dealerships. But with that comes a way that we have to rethink kind of how we do things at the store. You know, often the sales process was set up for the benefit of the dealership, not the customer. And a lot of actions that we take at a dealership are set up for the benefit of the dealership, not the customer. And customers now have an expectation that I'm going to buy a car, I've done a ton of research, I know what I'm looking for, I know my price point, I want to get this done quickly. And we often slow those down. There's no research that I have in here that's going to say that's why. But if you think about, and from working in the industry with different dealerships, that's a lot of things I see. People come in and they are ready to buy, and we as retailers slow down that purchase momentum, I call it. And I'm not, again, steps of the sale are still important, but if somebody comes in and says, I'm looking for stock number B1237A, the white Altima Outback with the tan interior, and can you pull it around? I need to make sure my wife and I can sit in the back seat. Like, let's expedite the process there. So this is kind of a breakout of that question, so I hope that answers your question.
Oh, don't worry. Sabrina has a lot more questions for you a little bit later on.
Perfect.
Audience, keep those questions coming.
So price and inventory drive dealership selection. So top reason for choosing a certain dealership, the offer. And I always say offer does not mean discount. There's a lot of compelling reasons. You know, you can't beat math. If you have a compelling low price or monthly payment, and it's available in inventory, you have a pretty good shot of closing that customer. Close behind that is convenient location, and then experienced salespeople, positive dealer reviews, and responds quickly to calls or emails. The 6% there, you know, that's something that we've done to ourselves a little bit, is that I think the expectation is that we don't respond quickly to calls or emails, but I know that a lot of dealerships do, but customer perception is that we don't. But being able to get a good deal and having the availability to get that deal now are driving reasons for a specific dealership. Remember my friend that works here at Google, she went to a further dealership based on the fact that it was perceptually available in inventory on the dealership's website where the closest dealer was not available. She drove a little further. So these are some reasons to look at.
Actually, that doesn't surprise me because I had to pick a doctor. And, I just went to the closest one. Dude, I went through 4 doctors who that no one answered their phone, or they wanted me to leave a message or whatever. And then the 5th doctor I called, they picked the phone right up, answered all my questions. They said, great, you're my new doctor. That's how I did it. That is literally how I did it. Because, you have insurance and you get the doctors, and that's how I picked my doctor. And I haven't regretted it. She's a great doctor. But that was because they answered the phone and answered all my questions, and the other people didn't.
And that kind of ties into this. It's like 58% of people that we talk to traveled more than 10 miles, relative to how close their dealership was to the dealership. So these are all big things to consider. Now, this slide, I put it in here because I believe it's important, but phone and email lead the way in which people communicate with the salesperson before purchasing. So this chart, it's not that people are driving to the dealership and talking to the salesperson. Think about it as the way that people are communicating with the salesperson. So when they speak to a salesperson over the phone or email, that's the top 2 driving factors of making sure that how they communicate. So those people call in or they email. Filling out lead forms, while important, you're going to see is something that is not something is driving the way that customers want to communicate. Why? Because if you think about mobile devices and you try and fill out a lead form on a mobile device, people don't want to do that. Texting is certainly important, but chat is at the bottom of the list here. So your salespeople, again, making good use of the time, making sure that they're having the conversations you want them to be having with your customers, and then making sure they're good on the phones again. Remember I was talking about this pendulum swinging? We're going to continue to see that theme. So auto buyers were more likely to interact with the dealership compared to a previous year. So this is great news. People want to touch and feel the product. We're hearing a lot of buzz in our industry right now, like, about how do we make sure that we can do everything online. And I think that, that is important, and it's important to make good use of time, but people are interacting with the dealership more, maybe not physically, but the interaction that they have because of mobile, the ability to call, text, and email all from one device is increasing the amount of interaction they're having with a local dealership. And leading the way with that is price, and then seeing if it's in stock, dealership info, etc. Sorry. And here's the impact of test drive. So 49% of people said that a test drive expedited their shopping process. I know there's probably a lot of departmental managers out there like going, yes, I told all these guys that test drives are still important, and you know what? They are. And making good use of people's time through a test drive is really, really important. How you get people to test drive the car, that's up to you. But 59% of people that test drove the vehicle was the one that they ultimately purchased. So, if you've made any big ticket items purchases in the past 5 years, you very rarely don't go touch and feel that. I mean, think about buying a new cell phone. You want to make sure that that's going to do what you think it's going to do. So a car is no different, because now the car is an extension with all the technology of what you need to do every day. So poll question, and we're coming down the home stretch.
Yes, we are. All right. Our first poll question is on the screen now. We only have 2 poll questions today. So audience, I know you're really dialed in, so I want you to get equally dialed in into this poll question that's on the screen now. We want to know, what percentage of your total marketing budget is currently allocated to online videos? Once we get the answer to this, we're going to close this poll and share the results. So we want to know, is it less than 5%? Do you think it's somewhere between 5 and 10%? Somewhere between 10 and 15%? Maybe it's somewhere between 15 and 20%? Or do you think that your dealership spends more than 20% of its total marketing budget just on online videos? Once we get a majority of the votes, we're going to close this poll, share the results. Yes, I do want to tell you, get those questions in, because Andrew Diffenderfer from Google is in the home stretch, and he's ready to answer all your questions on the new study that Google just did on the automotive path to the purchase. Okay, we do have some really great questions in though, Andrew, so buckle up, buddy, all right?
I do not know the answer to every question, but I will do my best.
All right. Votes are coming in fast and furious. I like how I threw in that car reference. Yes, you do. All right. These questions are going to get answered very, very shortly. Yes, we do have one more poll question coming up towards the very, very end of the broadcast. And somebody else asked, oh, yeah, we have some really good questions in here, Andrew. All right. So what percentage of your total marketing budget is currently allocated to online videos? We're going to find out in just a moment. Andrew, if you're ready, I'll close this poll and share the results.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. The majority, 56% of today's audience, say they spend less than 5% of their total marketing budget on online videos. Almost a quarter, 23% of today's audience, say they spend somewhere between 5 and 10%. 13% of today's audience say they're somewhere between 10 and 15%. And the remaining 8% of today's audience believe they're around 15 to 20%. We did have a few questions that came in. So for instance, Sabrina said, does that include inventory videos on our website?
Sure.
Sure. Sabrina?
That would be video marketing. Absolutely. Great question.
Okay, great. And of course, no one, as you can see on the screen, said that they spend more than 20% of their total marketing budget on online videos. But I got to ask, Diff, is there a right answer to this?
No, there's not. There's not a right answer. The reality is that online video is becoming more and more powerful as an efficient marketing medium. And hopefully you're going to hear us talking a lot about that this year as it relates to automotive, because the amount of growth that we're seeing on YouTube specifically as it relates to video and automotive is staggering. It's becoming the new showroom, and people are really, really utilizing that as a way to kind of influence their purchasing decision, which opens up a great opportunity for dealerships to kind of be in that moment of influence.
So not just videos like walk-around videos, but videos of the interior of the car, videos on what, how to winterize your car, like what?
There's kind of two veins. There's what you can have as kind of those how-to or review videos, but there's also the ability to, there's a lot of that content that exists out there already, and if you know that somebody is looking for, let's say, mid-size sedan reviews, and your dealership may sell mid-size sedans, you could have an advertising message through YouTube TrueView that would allow your dealership with the mid-size sedan that you sell and an offer to play before that video. So it's a way to kind of touch people in that moment when they're looking for information with the products and services that you have in a highly targeted manner.
I like it. All right, let's keep going.
Cool. All right, so little bonus thing. What about the phones? What about the phones, guys?
What about the phones?
We did another little study that I dropped in here. This is not part of the path to purchase, but I think it's extremely critical for automotive retailers. And we did 1,510 respondents. And I won't read you all these questions, but basically it said, what did you do before you contacted or before you first went to the dealership? And interestingly, 74% of those people did not fill out a lead form, and 56% preferred not to be contacted.
Ooh.
So if you take a step back and think about this, a lot of our KPIs now are adjusted towards, how many lead forms do we get? That'll equate how many appointments we have, and then we fire our follow-up process, and then that'll equate to sales. But people have done a lot of research, highly educated about what they want to buy, and filling out a lead form if they're on a mobile device just isn't reality. But if you look at those people who did want to communicate with the dealership, then 36% of them wanted to be, or I'm sorry, 36% of the ones that did, 48% opted to call. So the phone is your best friend, and we've got to, as an industry, be really good. Why? Because I can search for anything, hit search, and within that ad copy there's a click to call button there, and my expectation is that anybody I call, I do not want to leave a voicemail, and I want to talk to a human being. Because with a mobile device, I can circumvent face-to-face or conversation any way that I possibly want to, via text, via email, social media. There's a lot of different ways to not talk to someone, but if I make that conscious effort to call and talk to someone, are they going to be able to do that? And this is critical because the phones are still going to be the way that you can begin to just outmaneuver your competition. And then 33% used email. And if I could put a disclaimer on there, the disclaimer of using email is not autoresponders after somebody like emails you. It's organic, truthful, real conversation over email. People can do all of this from their mobile device. We know that. We all do that. So it's important to communicate with the customers in which the way they want to communicate with you. I was mystery shopping a dealership in Texas.
Wait. You mystery shop dealerships?
I do. I'm very fortunate. I get to spend a lot of time in a lot of cool places, and I enjoy that, and I love the automotive space, and I love going to dealerships. And there was a really interesting text widget on this specific dealership website, so I texted them, and the dealership responded to me in every way but text. So I got a phone call, I got an email, and my email was, "Hi Andrew, thank you for your interest in a insert make model period. We really hope that you're finding all the information you need on your insert make model period." And I say that it's not critical, it happens, I get it, but I initiated conversation via text. I mean, could you imagine if you texted your friend and every time you texted your friend they called you instead of text you back? You'd be like, dude, why do you do this? And that's essentially what happened. So I think it's really critical to understand the way in which the customers want to communicate because it'll allow you to be much more effective. And then if we break this down, 36% of the purchasers contact the dealership before the visits. Of those who contacted, again, call, email, then text, then web form, and then other, and then chat at the bottom. So get really good on the phones, guys, because that's what customers want. So video, and we're coming down the home stretch. So almost everyone who watched an online video watched a video of the brand they ultimately ended up purchasing. So this is why the discussion around video is important. YouTube continues to be the leading source in video by a wide margin. So when people are looking to buy a vehicle, they use YouTube heavily because they can see a lot of content, a lot of details, a lot of features in one place very quickly. Manufacturer site falls in nearly 20% under that. Facebook is in here. Facebook provides a great platform to drive awareness, but interestingly, you'll see that in that 18 to 34 age group, the usage of Facebook is less because Facebook's demographic is skewing to an older population versus the younger 18 to 34 population. But YouTube is a great way to efficiently get in the game for a lot of reach for your dealerships. And you will hear us throughout the year talking more about this. And why? Because the average time, so if you look at this, in 2012, the average time online has gone up significantly. So TV stayed, relatively the same, but the time per day spent online, we've seen a 30%, or we've seen a massive growth, and 30% of that growth has come from video. So of the percentage of time of increase, video is driving the largest majority of it. And then if you look at the auto shopping process, 57% of people, nearly 6 out of 10, watch videos. 28% watch 6 or more. 42 spent 30 minutes watching auto videos. I mean, if you go out here and look at some of these reviews that people are doing on YouTube about your product, they're really good and they're unbiased and people feel like they can get really good information from them. So it's an opportunity for you to get with those customers. And 84% watched a video that was over 3 minutes long.
Andrew?
So it's pretty safe to say, yeah.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought. I just want you to know I have a question for you on the last slide.
Oh, yep, no problem. So it's pretty safe to say that anyone that's looking to buy a car is going to watch a video, and the question is, are you there and are you impacting that moment?
Okay. Yes. Keith wrote in a good question about it. He says, does that online video stat include streaming live TV?
The online, so this is total time online videos. So you're talking, I would assume, talking about like live sports or streaming like that. This is strictly like online video sites. So like YouTube, if you would look at something on Vimeo, I don't believe, and I will confirm, I don't know off the top of my head if it includes Hulu or things like that.
Right.
I apologize. I will find out for you, though.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Keith. All right, Andrew, keep going. The stats in here are just so amazing. They're just so eye-opening and thought-provoking.
If we look at actions taken after watching a video, you're going to keep seeing this theme. People visit dealerships. The dealership is still critical to what's going on. Secondary to that is they search the dealership's inventory. So this notion of having web banners and trying to highlight everything that you do in one place on your web page, you're going to keep seeing that people want to talk to you and they want to see what you have in stock, and that'll lead to them talking to you more. So, and then after that, they research more online. So these are the top 97% of people, though, performed an action, and the top 3 of those actions were things that equal, hopefully, an opportunity for you to sell somebody a car. So online video, really, really important to get in the game there. And that brings us to another poll question.
Another poll question. All right, last poll question. And then we're going to be getting to some more fun stuff in this presentation. All right, poll question is on the screen now. We want to know, are you currently tracking calls to your dealership from any of these marketing channels? Please select all that apply. So, are you tracking your calls specifically from your paid search, from your website, from local listings like your toll-free number or a Google business page or something like that? Are you tracking calls from third-party listings like AutoTrader or Cars.com, for instance? Or is it the last answer? Nope, we don't currently track any of our incoming calls. Once we get a majority of these votes, we're going to close the poll and share the results. Wow, look at that. Wait till you see the answers on this one, Andrew. Holy moly. Okay, great questions. Audience, I'm looking forward to a really nice, robust Q&A session. And Andrew, so are you. I hope you're taking a drink because you're doing a lot of talking. And by the way, I got to say, Andrew, seriously, this automotive path to the purchase, fascinating, really, really amazing stats that you're coming out with. And I just thank you so much for being here today and sharing them with us.
Of course.
David says, by tracking, does he mean recording or just looking at the numbers of calls and where they came from?
Just sourcing them by number of calls by channel, not transcribing or recording. Good question.
Okay, so hopefully that helped all of you out. Yes, we're not caring about the recording. We're more caring about where they came from so that you know where those calls are originating from and what is prompting them to call your dealership. All right. He says, gotcha. Great questions. Oh my gosh. Wait till you see these questions. All right. Audience, thank you so much for getting involved with our poll questions. Danielle says, we track everything. Text, call, email, Facebook, IG, etc. Thanks. Okay, Andrew, if you're ready, I'll close this poll and share the results.
Okay.
Okay. 63% of today's audience say they do track the calls that are made to their dealership from paid search. The majority, 85% of today's audience, say, yes, those calls from our website, we absolutely track those. 59% of today's audience say they definitely track the calls from local listings like their toll-free number or Google business page, etc. A large amount, 73% of today's audience, say third-party listings, yeah, they want to know what calls are coming from there. AutoTrader, Cars.com, because they invest a lot of money there. And 12% of today's audience say they don't currently track any of their incoming calls to the dealership. What's the right answer? Is there a right answer? Should we be tracking all the calls from everything?
Well, yes. I mean, in a perfect world, as calls are beginning to drive the majority of the way customers want to contact, I think a lot of people would agree that calls have a higher quality than anything else that you potentially could look at from the dealership. When you look at that piece about search, the next question comes in is that, yeah, you may know how many calls you got from Google search, but do you know how many calls you got from Google search or any other search engine for that matter as it relates to your department? So how many did new car get? How many did used car get? How many did service get? How many did parts get? What was in there for finance? Because it's going to be really critical as you begin to assess your marketing budget to understand assigning a cost per acquisition on the customers that you're getting in. So knowing that if you spend $5,000 a month on new car paid search and that gets you 750 phone calls, of which that'll get you 300 appointments, of which that you'll get 100 shows out of that and you'll sell 38 cars. That's where things really need to be, because we have the data to do that. And now if you want to sell more new cars, you can add incremental money to the area that does that for the lowest cost per lead. So a lot of opportunity there.
I feel like you've worked at a dealership before.
I have.
That just rolled off your tongue a little too easily for somebody who's never worked at a dealership.
where the rubber meets the road, and I love it. And there's just a lot of opportunities for to understand those pieces and really capitalize on all these customers that are out there, and do it better than those in your local markets. I mean, we're competitive. This industry is competitive by nature, but the ability to outmaneuver by using data, not feelings, is stronger than it's ever been. And I think first to market to do that is going to have very, very great successes.
Things you should hear more often. Use the data, not your feelings. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, where do we go from here?
So we are on the home stretch. So one thing, and I was going to do this live, but I want to get to the Q&A, but this is in the deck. So go to testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com, and all this is you plug in your dealership's URL, and it'll score your entire website for mobile performance, how you're looking from a desktop perspective, what types of things that you can look at to fix. One thing that we see a lot with automotive sites is photos that are such high resolution that it slows the load time on a mobile device. So it'll give you pointers on how to optimize your site that you can work with your various website platforms to make sure that you're getting the maximum potential out of your website as we see it from Google search engine. Then action items. So, at the end of the day, we talked a lot about a lot of data. So ensure you're maximizing and evaluating your search budget. That's still the #1 portal. That's still the #1 driver of traffic to dealership websites. And ensure that you understand what your ROI is there. Like, you may be tracking everything, but you know what your cost per sale is from your paid search budget. And ensure you're making the most of your mobile moments. So people live and die. The average user checks their phone 150 times a day, and that equates to a session that lasts about 1 minute and 10 seconds for every session. So 150 times on average, those sessions last 1 minute and 10 seconds, and people are making big decisions during those moments. So make sure that you're there when they're doing that. Get in the game with YouTube. There's a lot, you're going to hear a lot of opportunity around this because that's where online time and growth and research is growing, and being able to put your brand and name out there with YouTube it's highly targeted, it's very efficient, and you're going to hear a lot more from our automotive team about that in 2017. Understand your highest ROI marketing channels as it relates to vehicle sales. At the end of the day, what's your cost per sale? We live and die by this metric in our industry, but we have a better way to evaluate it today than we ever have. And then prepare a digital marketing strategy for all dealership profit centers. We talked a lot about sales today. We did not talk about service. There's a massive opportunity to be there for your customers as it relates to service marketing, utilizing a lot of the platforms that Google has available. So invest in that, and I think you'd be very, very happy to see the increases in RO counts and customer pay if you begin to look at your different profit centers of the dealership and how your marketing budget can impact them. Now the fun part, the Q&A, and I'm sorry that we went a little long, but I hope it was useful.
I don't know what you could have possibly cut out of that presentation. That was amazing. Audience, you got to admit, that was pretty awesome, right? Okay, so, oh, look, you already turned on your, all right, I'm behind. All right, here we go. He's done this before, everyone. It's not his first rodeo. All right, yeah, people are writing in. That was great. That was awesome. Great job, Diff. Okay, so audience, if you haven't gotten in your question yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Now is the time. Let's get those questions in. We do have a lot of questions in the queue. So Andrew, take a drink. You're going to be needing some moist vocal cords for all. Okay. Well, let me talk to the audience for a little bit. Audience, I got news for you. Before we get to your questions, I'm going to direct your attention over to the handouts section of the GoToWebinar interface. Oh, you're going to want to download these. You have until the end of this broadcast to do so. So, of course, the first handout you're going to want to download is Andrew's slide deck. Yeah, that awesome deck you just saw? You can get it for yourself. Go to that handout section, push the little plus sign right where it says handouts. It opens up. You're going to see 2 great handouts in there. One of them, Andrew's slide deck that you just saw, filled with all of that awesomeness. The second one, it's actually like 3 handouts in one. They're like 3 one-pagers, all about the 2017 Automotive Shopper Study and all of the dealership insights that have been extrapolated from that study. Yes, get those handouts.
Saturday morning sales meetings.
People are writing in, oh my God, the handouts. All right, and people were tweeting about it too, Diff. You'll see that in your tweets. All right, so here we go. Get those handouts. You have until the end of this broadcast to download both of those handouts, all right? Now, before we get to your questions, we're going to give away some prizes, baby. So if you've never been to a DealerOn webinar, yeah, we give away prizes for learning. You have to be quick, though. First person to write in the correct response to any of our giveaway questions, you get a prize. Today, our good friends over at Google, they're giving away some really cool prizes today. 2 of you lucky webinar attendees are going to win a Google Chromecast, and that's for watching all of your favorite videos, your online videos on your TV screen. So cool. If you haven't had one, I have one. I love it. Anyway, awesome prize. So get ready. Get to your keyboards. First person to write in that correct response to a giveaway question is going to win a Chromecast. Now, I am going to ask you, if you are a vendor, you are always welcome on the DealerOn webinars. We love sharing our information here. We're going to ask you to please sit this one out. This prize is intended for dealership personnel only. But we love having you, so come on back to another DealerOn webinar anytime you'd like. But here we go. Good luck, everyone. I know he threw out a lot of stats, but guess what? These are stat-related questions. So good luck. I hope you were paying attention, took great notes. According to this most recent Google research, what percentage of people did not complete a lead form prior to their first dealership visit? Holy moly, I can't believe people were paying attention to that. That was a lot. You said it so fast, and I can't believe so many people got this right. Yes, it is 74% of people did not complete a lead form prior to their first visit, and the first person to get that right, oh my God, I threw my pencil. David Sharp. Congratulations, David. No stranger to winning a DealerOn webinar prize. David Sharp. Congratulations, David. Oh, we still have another prize to give away, so hang on, everyone. David, Elliot CDJ? Are you still with Elliot Auto Group? Is that it? Auto Group. He just wrote Auto Group. All right. I think it is. Anyway, David, congratulations. You're going to be getting your Chromecast directly from our good friends over at Google. All right, everyone. You got one more chance to win a really cool prize. All right? Here we go. Good luck, everyone. And David, you can sit this one out. You're already a winner, my friend. When it comes to buying a car, roughly what percentage of shoppers' interactions flow through Google? Oh, David, didn't I tell you to sit this one out? Even though you got it right. David was the only one who got it right. I can't give it to him. So people, let's go. Okay, yeah, you can do it one more time. You couldn't help yourself. Bad. I should verbally spank you for that. Actually, somebody else did get it right. Joel Shetler. Joel Shetler, you are our other winner today. We were looking for anything between 48% and 52%. When it comes to buying a car, roughly what percentage of shopper interactions flow through Google? Anywhere from 48 to 52%. Joel, you wrote in 50%. You are a winner today. Congratulations, Joel Shetler. Got your name down? Just need to know what dealership you're from. Congratulations to both David Sharp and Joel Shetler. I know we had 2 prizes today, and all of you wanted to win. But you know what? We give away cool prizes every week, so come on back to another DealerOn webinar, and who knows, that could be the day you win a cool prize on a DealerOn webinar. But for right now, we're going to congratulate David Sharp from Elliott Auto Group and Joel Shetler from Hyundai of Columbia, Tennessee. Congratulations. Yes, Joel and David, send me your addresses so I can get those Google Chromecasts out to you, right, Andrew?
That's right.
That's right. All right, and we want to, of course, congratulate the winners and thank Google, our good friends over at Google, for their incredible generosity. All right, everyone, now that fun's over, let's get back to the Q&A session. Are you ready? Should we, crack our knuckles, get ready for this? Do some stretches.
Here we go.
All right. First question came in nice and early from Stephen. He says, will we get a copy of this deck? Stephen, I love that you asked me that. Yes, get those handouts downloaded as soon as you can. You have until the end of this broadcast. All right, lots of questions came in from Sabrina. Every time you showed a slide, like 2 minutes after the slide, she's like, wait, I got a question about that. Sabrina says, when shoppers are considering other brands than what they are currently driving, how are they discovering the other brands to research? So, I mean, Did your research show any of that information, or do they just say, hey, that car looked good, I saw that on the road, I think I'm just going to start researching that?
So that's a really good question. There's a lot of I'll say by segment conquesting that happens. So one of the things that's really important that we look at is we try and understand what our cost per acquisition or cost per sale is to dealers. And a lot of automotive research is done on third-party sites. And with that, as we talked a little bit earlier, that's where, if you remember the example of me saying about my 3-year-old son going to a candy store, there's a lot to look at. And if you look at the journey that happens on third-party sites where they may have been looking for a specific brand but then look at other things, that's where that consideration begins to change, because now the customer is basically being presented something that they never even maybe knew existed or didn't understand that they could potentially purchase. So that's why also your cost per sale through third-party sites is much higher than that come from search. So on average, they're about 3 times more from a third-party site than they are directly from search, because that lead is somebody is going to have potential of other brands contacting them. So it's kind of a part of the research, but it's really critical to understand as a dealership where you can maximize the ability to generate leads. And when people are searching for a place to buy or the price that they can buy, that will convert much higher for you and be much more cost effective than trying to influence someone to come purchase from you because you think they might be interested. They're going to make that decision themselves.
Right. Okay, follow-up question from Sabrina. And by the way, you can go to the next slide if you'd like so they can see your pretty headshot. She says, do you feel that conquesting SEM ads are still influential?
I will ask you one other question back. Are you talking about conquesting competitive dealerships or conquesting other brands?
Sabrina, other brands, she says.
Other brands. Okay, great question. So yes, for dealerships though, again, disclaimer, conquesting is very expensive. So you as a dealership have a limited budget that you can spend every month. And if somebody's searching, if you sell BMWs and somebody's searching for Mercedes-Benz and you think that it might be relevant to put your ad up there because you could convince them that a BMW would be a better option for them, that's going to be very, very expensive for a couple of reasons. It's not what they intended to search on. The quality score is much lower, and they're really not ready to purchase yet. They're probably doing more research. So I do believe that conquesting has a role. If you understand the expectation that your cost per click is going to be very high, it will not generate a lot of leads for a dealership unless you have the ability to really make a really compelling value proposition. But that is often more upper funnel. Conquesting is a good strategy because knowing people do want to switch brands, but it can be very, very expensive. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just understanding the landscape before you go there. Because I often see that dealerships want to do that because it sounds good, but then they see the cost associated with it and how many cars they actually sold. And we have data that supports this. If you look at the types of cars that you trade in, probably most of the cars you trade in are the same brand that you sell. So, and if you see ones that you're starting to take in a lot of off-brand, then maybe that's an avenue that you could go down. But just be careful because the cost can get very high.
Right, and another follow-up question from Sabrina. She says, will having a content landing page comparing our model versus their model be helpful to reduce that price?
It would impact the quality score if the information was relevant to the search query, but the cost that if you're in Conquest, you're maybe bidding against a regional ad association or a third party or a manufacturer, and they have a lot bigger budgets than typically a dealership has. So you can do it, but it will probably dramatically increase your cost per click.
Okay, Sabrina has all the good questions. She's got some more coming at you a little bit later on. She says, got it? Thanks. All right, let's get to this question from Keith. Very good question from Keith as well. He says, have you broken down metro areas for the amount of distance traveled, and is the average distance traveled in Chicago, dealers are considerably closer than in Florida, for instance? So when we say the
This
average, when we were talking about average distance, does it matter, that in Chicago, it's a very metro and very close neighborhoods where it's not maybe so uncommon for people to drive 30 minutes in Florida?
Yeah, then that's a good point. This year we did try and get a larger sample size from different regions across the country. Obviously, that we can't go to every region and every market, and this focused on a West Coast, a South Central, a Central, a Northeast, and a Southeast data pool. And I do have the breakouts of how the samples were there. I do not have in each specific market how far that those customers drove. The average was a collective of the sample there. So. It's the point there is not necessarily to think about marketing further outside of your DMA, your PMA, or your AOI, whatever manufacturer you're with. The thought there is that if you remember the other slide, is that people do want to come to something that's convenient to them, but if it's perceived from an inventory perspective, you do not have availability, they are going to be willing to drive. So the easiest way to bring that number down and get customers to come to you is really make sure that your content on your website is 100% updated.
Okay, thank you so much. Great question, Keith. All right, another question came in from Sabrina. She said, when you showed that slide that talked about print advertising, she said, I am surprised to see that print advertising is at 10%. Is that primarily newspapers? And then I wrote back to her and I said, are you surprised it's low or are you surprised it's high? And she says she's surprised that it's high. So first of all, do we think that it's high? And is it primarily newspapers? This is the second part of the question.
I don't think that that's a high number. I always say there are, and a great friend of mine who does a lot of work in the digital space said this. I don't think there's any bad mediums. I just think there's bad messages. And any medium can be effective if you understand what you're trying to achieve with that medium. Print is something that we're seeing. There is still marketing dollars that go towards that, because I would argue that print done correctly can drive searches and can drive search intent when done correctly, and you still have a lot of people that get the paper delivered to them. I don't know, and I will find out, is that if that breaks out like digital print, so if you go to the NewYorkTimes.com, etc., or something like that. But the reality there is, the other piece of this is that print publications have become very cost effective. They used to be, 10, 15 years ago, take a full page ad out in the Saturday paper, and you did that once a month maybe. And now the cost, because of the other mediums that you can advertise in, has come way down. So I think it can be a part of an efficient ad mix if you fund your search budget to capitalize on that other marketing initiative. And I don't think 10% is high. I mean, if you look at the average dealer spend, it's probably $60,000 to $70,000 a month. Maybe some are more, basing it on NADA stats. But you take 10% of that, it's just not really a big number.
All right. Sabrina, thank you so much for your great question. We have a few more of hers coming up in a little bit. Right now, we're going to get to Jeff's question. And Jeff says, yo, Diff. He literally wrote that.
Jeff.
We are in Jersey, so. All right. So, yo, Diff, what is Google's take on all of these pop-up coupons dealership websites are still using? They seem pretty useless, but I don't know the numbers.
So there is a big piece that we, and I can get you the link, and basically we as Google do not like any type of those coupons, regardless of automotive industry, because it's not just an automotive thing. This happens in a lot of other industries as well. But anything that could potentially slow down or limit the user's experience from a mobile perspective is deemed something that could impact your ranking with Google.
Right.
So, and why is that? Because if you're on a mobile device and you can't, if it doesn't scale properly, if it slows down a device, that's not a good, we're not giving our customers, our Google customers, a good experience with that product, and we think that they should have a good experience. The only stipulation that there's, I don't want to say an exception, is if the site would have some type of age-limited content that you would have to be of a certain age to view that content, which doesn't really apply for automotive, but it can apply for other verticals. So, I get the reason because of the performance and the clicks you see, but there's on a mobile device it can impact your business. And I'll get you the link that you can send out as a follow-up that gives our whole entire webmaster blog on that exact question.
Oh, that would be nice. All right, thank you so much. Great question, Jeff. All right, let's do another one from Sabrina. She says, I'm thinking about the 90-day purchase window. Are you finding the click-to-call volume increase when the purchase window is closing and they're really ready to buy?
I don't have a metric, and you're probably like, oh my gosh, you don't have a metric yet, like 50 slides of metric. I don't have a number that says how well the call performs or if they call closer. It's just when they're ready to contact the dealership, that's the preferred method. So I would think if you were looking at, if you, for example, would go into your AdWords campaign and look at the amount of calls that were generated by the specific keywords that you have set up. So you may be able to see that, hey, ABC Honda service offers generated more phone calls than alignments. That would probably give you a really good idea of how close they are to what they want to do. And if you look at it on the sales side, somebody that maybe called in on Honda Accord lease payments versus somebody searching for ABC Honda, you could say that that ABC Honda search query was probably for more general type information, whereas the Honda Accord lease payments was somebody that was closer to purchase. So you can, in AdWords, you can see if you have call extensions activated, you can see how many calls were generated via each campaign.
Right.
So that would help you find out, because that could vary for every dealership in every market.
All right. Great question. Okay, I'm not going to mince words. I really love this question from Molly, which is our next question. First, she starts off with, Andrew, good stuff. Thank you. Here's my question.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Compared to last year's study, what do you think are the top 3 major differences or changes? Good question, Molly. Andrew, what do we got?
So I think number one is like phones, like phone, because
and not just mobile.
I think not just like mobile, yes, but mobile's part of phones, because like people can easily call, and understanding that piece, like I think it's always been a growing piece, but we understand that if somebody wants to contact you, the best way for them to do that is to hit that click to call button on a paid search ad and get directly to someone at the dealership. That's like the fastest way. I mean, can you imagine in 1985 being able to like touch your TV and call the dealership if you were interested in it?
I love the click to call feature. I use it all the time.
Right, and you know that, so that's number one, like really understand and isolate that, and you're going to hear us talking more about calls because we have the ability to show you what people are intentionally looking for, and then the action they take on our platforms that lead to an opportunity for you. You have the opportunity to evaluate how effective that is, because we can't see every dealership's phone call,
right,
obviously. But so that's number one. Number two, like, is the fact that customers are not loyal, and we as an industry need to do a better job from a marketing perspective. And I don't want to say digital marketing or traditional marketing. It's a marketing perspective at maximizing each profit center in the dealership, because service is the fastest way to build brand retention. And if you ask anybody right now what percentage of their budget went towards fixed operations marketing, and I think we did that on the last webinar.
I think so.
It was less than, I believe, 15% was the average. And you know, so back to Sabrina's question, like you have a print ad at 10%, and you have
right.
the profit center in your dealership that generates typically the most net profit for the store.
Sometimes up to 70% of the profit comes from fixed ops, yeah.
Absolutely. And then, like, there's typically less than 10% of the marketing or 15% of the marketing budget put to that. So imagine if you put a little bit of marketing budget to that. So that's number two.
Right.
And then number three, like, run your website just as you do any other part of the dealership. So I hope through this you realize the importance of your website's not a monthly activity anymore. Your website's not a weekly activity. Your website's not a daily activity. It's an all-the-time activity. It's when you get to the store and you check on it and you make sure everything's there. I mean, think about how many things we have. thousands of people in this industry that are hired as attendants to make sure that our dealerships are swept clean, that the cars are always lined up, that there's no balloons from the weekend laying on anything. And the website is exactly that piece, and people look at it occasionally. I know some dealerships do a phenomenal job of living in there, but you can see all the pieces and how that impacts purchase. So you got to have somebody that lives and dies by, at an executive level, being able to transparently talk to every profit center about how your website is impacting their profit center at the dealership. So that would be my 3. So phones, making sure that you're looking at your profit centers within the dealership, and then making sure that you have somebody touching your website all the time.
I love everything you just said. Okay, Molly, if you have a follow-up question, we're here for you. All right, next question comes in from Joey. Joey says, has Google done a survey like this for the RV industry?
Good question.
That is
We
a
have
good question,
not.
right?
We have not. You know, this year we did break out. Last year was a lot of used. Now you see transparency down into new, used, CPO, and we even have the ability to look at luxury now, which is something we didn't have. We have a luxury cut of the data because there are some nuances there, but we do not have RV. I would encourage you to reach out, and this is not like a joke, but like reach out to 188, the 188 Google number. There's a talented team of folks in there, if you're in that RV business, that can give you direction on some maybe providers and let you understand maybe some stats if you just kind of go down that vein. But our team specifically does not touch RV, so I apologize.
All right, Joey, thanks so much. Always good to see your name on my screen. Okay, a lot of people ask this same question, but just in different ways. So, for instance, we have Sabrina. She says, in Google's perspective, should we forego the tracking numbers and list only the main line? Keith said, using call tracking numbers for each source, does it affect Google's algorithm in regards to citations? Robert said, at a Google-sponsored meeting last year, Google told us to get rid of all trackable numbers. It confuses the algorithms on the search pages, and that we should only have one number. Any thoughts on that? And Jason said, one phone number for local SEO versus multiple phone numbers for call tracking? What are your thoughts? So, we got a lot of confused people out there about this call tracking thing. What's the answer? What's the answer so that we can do the call tracking but still make Google still fall in love with what we're doing online?
Right. So, I will never talk about SEO because I will talk about SEO.
Okay.
SEO goes together like milk and cookies. So you need both.
You're already talking my language, Andrew.
It's beer and pizza, whichever one you want. They both need each other. However, a lot of our conversations as it relates to customer intent on high purchase items are from from the paid portion. So we do get a lot of questions. I think I didn't hear it, but I think there's kind of a little bit of confusion there. Like, hey, what should I do with my Google My Business or my Google My Places number?
Right.
And there's been a lot of enhancements as it relates to automotive for that product because dealerships present a little bit of a challenge because you have remote service facilities in some cases, you have dual brands in other cases. So making sure that the number actually matches the local exchange often, or the number that Google can verify. I will say, while I'm not a Google My Places expert, they've made big advancements as a result of my team kind of giving them feedback and feedback from you all, that you can now go to Google My Business Help and you can actually webcam with a person to verify a lot of that information, because they need to verify that what we're putting on our platform is actually real and verifiable to prevent your business potentially being misrepresented. So that would kind of be the phone piece of that. As it relates to paid search and call extensions, so I believe the best use of that is to enable call extensions. It doesn't cost anything. It's just an extension that you can add onto your paid search ads, and we will serve that extension as much as we can when it's relevant to the search query. Within that, Google can assign numbers to your call extensions, and what you would want to have is, let's just hypothetically say that at the DealerOn dealership, you have a new car campaign, you have a used car campaign, you have a service campaign, and you have a finance campaign. And you assign a Google Voice number to every one of those campaigns in your AdWords interface, and then that Google Voice number can then be forwarded to a departmental number at the dealership. Because Google will randomly serve that number, but if it's attached to a campaign, then you can isolate your ROI opportunities. So you don't want to go in there and be manually putting in numbers, kind of let Google do that, and then but make sure that those numbers, that if you're putting call extensions in, are ringing to the right profit centers within your dealership so that you can then track them.
Got it. All right. So Sabrina, Keith, Robert, and Jason, I hope we answered your question, and they should go and visit Google Business. What was it?
Yeah, if you just if you go to Google My Business and click on Help, yeah, everything is right in there. So
all right.
If there are any questions on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Still got a handful of questions, so let's power through these, okay? Different Jason wrote in, can I get the recording of this webinar? I'd like to show it to our owner. Yeah, we're going to send everyone a link to this recording. It's also going to be posted online within 24 hours at dealeron.com/webinar. But yes, everyone will get a link emailed to them a little bit later on today. All right, so check your email for that. John wrote in, this might have been from, okay, does having different numbers so that you can track hurt with search engines, meaning listed numbers don't match? I think you kind of answered that, right?
Yeah.
All right, John.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so John, I think we already got to that one. Okay, Joel wrote in, what are some great examples of YouTube video strategies?
Good question. So you can see a lot of great kind of content. I would encourage everyone to go to, just do a quick Google search for YouTube Director. This is an app that allows you to create content for just listing on your YouTube channel, or you can monetize and use that as paid content. So the things that we talk about are twofold. One, if you're going to advertise, and these are the ads that happen before a video that you want to view, we call those true view ads. The first 5 seconds of those are non-skippable, and then the remaining piece is skippable. So, and you can say, I want to do that or not. We find that the ability to make sure that you're giving some type of offer based on the results that we've seen here today, that is impactful. So there's a kind of the paid version, and then there's kind of your channel listing. If you're going to get into the YouTube video creation vein of making dealership videos, be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. And I say that because
can we make that into a billboard?
Sure. It's, you saw that 85% of people watched a video that was about 3 minutes. Okay, so that's somebody that's going out there, and you see about a 50% drop off of people that watched more than 30 minutes of video. So understand what your hot products are, understand what the features, advantage, and benefits are of those products, and then make sure that you don't overproduce it, but don't underproduce it. Like, nobody wants like shaky motion sickness video from your phone, but also like you don't need to go out and spend $5,000 of unless you're trying to like go out and get your owner to buy you some video equipment. I don't know, but you don't need to spend a ton of money in doing this. The transparency and I want to say like non-biased seems to go a really long way. And there's a big advantage of first to market. Like, I know that I'm a big gearhead, and I love like when manufacturers bring out new cars. I'm always like waiting for like somebody to do like a review video on it. I don't really care who it is. I just want to see it. Like, I want to be able to see it kind of like real. And if you're at a dealership, you have the opportunity to do a lot of this stuff. So understand if you want to do paid or non-paid. Check out that YouTube Director app. It's available for download, and it'll walk you through all the steps to create a very nice looking either channel posting or paid ad in less than 20 minutes, and it's a free app.
Okay, we do have a follow-up question from Joel, by the way. By the way, excellent answer to that last question. I really liked your answer. Okay, Joel's follow-up question is, was there a significant difference in buying behavior based on geographic region or population density? I don't know. Is that something that you tracked?
We did not, no.
Okay.
So we try and get as specific as we can, but the things you're seeing here, I don't believe that there's much difference by region on those stats.
Okay. Thank you so much for the question, Joel. Okay, one last question, and then 3 more comments, and then we will close out this show. All right, last question comes in from Angie. She says, what's more effective, the BDC handling incoming calls or the salespeople? I'm not sure that that's actually in your research, but maybe if you have your own personal uh, answer to this, we'd love to know.
Yeah, so make good use of the customer's time. whether you decide to have your salespeople answer calls or you have a BDC, what I think is a bad experience is spending all this money to generate a lead, and then you get a lead and they go to a phone tree and somebody goes, yep, hold on, and I call a dealership, hey, can I speak to someone about the new Ford F-150? Yeah, okay, and then I get transferred to service. And then the service advisor says to me, well, hold on, I'll get you back down there. Okay, so then you go back to the receptionist, and then they transfer you to the BDC, and you're like, no, I want to talk to a salesperson. Well, hold on, you get my point. Like, whatever you do, the phones are highly important, and people don't want to be jerked around. They want to get the information they want, and they want to do that. There's BDCs that I've seen perform phenomenally because sometimes volume is something that requires more than a salesperson or a service advisor to answer the phone. But is it fair to say that in some dealerships that maybe because we have call extensions and if somebody's in the market for a car, that call number could ring to your number 1, 2, and 3 salesperson's phones, because that will give you the highest probability of getting an appointment to close that sale.
Right.
That may not work all the time, but I think the opportunity to be creative is there. But you have to, like, whatever you do, like, make sure that you're getting the customer, think like us, like as Google. So think like you're getting the customer through the dealership to get them the information as fast as possible without any runaround. So, but try to avoid the transfer game and the on hold and auto response and stuff like that.
All right. Completely unrelated questions, but thank you for answering. Aw, thank you, Angie. Okay, few last minute things. Joey wrote back in about that RV thing. He says, really, Andrew, you should do one. RV is very slow to catch up on digital, and we need all the help we can get. So Sabrina, who asked a lot of questions today. Thank you, Sabrina, for your great questions. She says, outstanding webinar. I have to agree. Elmer.
Sabrina, I'll tell you what, I will send you a Chromecast for all your great questions and being interactive.
What?
So you get an extra. So kick that back. I think it's a benefit to the group. So because everyone, there's a lot of good questions. So good job.
Sabrina, real fast, write in your mailing address super fast, or just email it directly to me at eliana@dealeron.com. That was very nice of you, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, Elmer wrote in, can you do your next webinar on the path to purchase used and CPO cars? Because I assume that the stats will be very different.
Yeah, we're gonna have more narratives in market this year than we've ever had, and hopefully, we understand that Google can sometimes be a little bit of a black box, and we're trying to help as much as we can. So we will have hopefully a CPO and used. I can't guarantee both, but we'll call it a pre.
Andrew.
Narrative and a fixed operation.
Okay.
Opportunity, we'll do it.
Oh, that sounds great. Okay, so that was a yes, Elmer. Thank you very much. Yes, we're still here. And I wanted to let you know, Adam wrote in, and he says, best webinar of 2017, hashtag real diff for Prez. And that came in, he wanted me to make sure he told you, came in from Adam from Maury's Automotive in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So thank you so much. And Andrew, I have to admit, this was a pretty darn good webinar. You give good webinar, my friend. I'd love to have you back on the show very, very shortly.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you all for the feedback. I greatly appreciate it.
People are writing an outstanding webinar, amazing, awesome. Hey, listen, audience, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to send out a survey once I close out this webinar. It's 3 questions, but one of those questions asks you for your feedback on today's presentation. I need to hear it from you. If you loved it, let me hear it from you. So get that survey completed for me, please. Thank you. It means a lot to us to know that what we're putting out there for all of you dealers is really, really helpful, all right? So fill out that survey. Let your opinion be heard. And yeah, DealerOn's going to be exhibiting and presenting at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention, April 11th through the 13th in Tampa. Are you going? I'm going. So if you're going to be there, stop by booth 411 and say hi. Check out these incredible speaking sessions by Greg Gifford and Sean Raines. Remember, it's booth 411. I hope to see you there. Andrew, I love you. Thank you so much. I know we had a very long webinar today, but you are amazing, amazing. So we're going to be sending out the link to the recording for everyone, and you can also visit that recording at dealeron.com/webinars. Please share it with everyone. It was amazing. And invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next DealerOn webinar, 5 steps to creating your biggest competitive advantage, keeping a dealership running on all cylinders with happy customers coming back for more. Yeah, that's quite a demanding task. Dealerships need all the help they can get. Are you looking for the most effective advantage over your competition? Yeah, you are. For such an important topic, we called in some big guns. When it comes to creating sustainable, competitive advantages in the automotive industry, few have done it better than Sean Stapleton. His name is synonymous with success. Sean Stapleton will share his top 5 recommendations to build the biggest competitive advantage for your dealership. He will discuss how to create more value for your dealership using transactional data, build more relevant campaigns, and ultimately drive more in-market car shoppers. Attendees of this exciting 1-hour webinar will also learn how to develop the most efficient content marketing process and how to identify and fix the missing gaps in your current marketing processes. Don't miss this chance to hear from one of the brightest minds in the automotive industry. If you're ready to learn the 5 steps to creating your biggest competitive advantage, then you simply can't afford to miss this presentation, so register now. And don't forget, DealerOn's weekly webinars are held Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. We got some great webinar subjects planned for the rest of this year, but if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding our webinars and our topics, hey, contact me directly. I'd love to hear from you. My name is Eliana Raggio. You can find me everywhere online, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. I'm everywhere. I'm on all the automotive social networks. Or you know what? You can just email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in our continuing education series. Take care.